right, so I'll start with the accessibility statement and Title VI non-discrimination statement. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. Large print materials are available upon advance request. If you would like either of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron, 508-583-1833, extension 202. The notice of non-discrimination rights and protections to beneficiaries with regard to the federal Title VI non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections is posted in this meeting room and is available on the Old Colony Planning Council website. Please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833, extension 202 for more information. All right.
So I just noticed the typo. You don't really need to hear my name twice, so my apologies.
It's all right. All right. So Mary, do you want to do the roll call vote?
I do. So beginning with Abington.
Present.
Thank you, Stephen. Avon. Is John Costa on? Or Frank? Okay. Bridgewater. Brockton.
Alternate.
Thank you.
And delegate present.
Thank you. Valerie, she said she was not able to attend. Easton.
Delegate.
Thank you, Jean Marie. Halifax. Hanover. I'm sorry, Hanson.
Delegate.
Thanks, Deb. Kingston. Pembroke.
Delegate.
Plymouth.
Delegate.
Thank you, Lee. Plimpton.
Delegate.
Stoughton.
Delegate.
West Bridgewater.
Delegate present.
And Whitman.
Alternate.
Thank you. And just so there's clarity, Bob, I know you're joining us today. And just in terms of clarification, are you here to, are you going to be able to vote, or are you here to listen in? I'm not quite sure. I know I sent you the invite, but just so I can get clarification.
Well, I think the resignation letter I sent to the mayor was indicated a resignation of the 31st. I thought I would
Perfect.
run to the end of the month. Yep.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Nothing against you, Preston.
Thank you. Okay. So that is the role, and we ascertain a quorum.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay. All right. On to the minutes from September 30th. Did everyone get a chance to read the minutes? Any questions, comments, or concerns about the minutes? All right. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes as written?
Move to accept Eldon from West Bridgewater.
Second, Jean Marie.
Okay, and Jean Marie seconds. Okay, let's have a roll call vote for acceptance of the minutes from September 30th.
Abington.
Accept.
Avon. Bridgewater. Brockton.
Accept.
Easton.
Accept.
Halifax. Just in case you join in. Hanson.
Accept.
Pembroke.
Accept.
Plymouth.
Accept.
Plimpton.
Accept.
Stoughton.
Accept.
West Bridgewater.
Accept.
And Whitman.
Accept.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have Brenda with us to do the financials? Oh, I see her.
I'm here. I'm behind that tree.
Yeah, I see you hiding back there.
So we're going to start with the September financials, Brenda.
Okay, yep. Okay, first up is the statement of expenditures. Shows the total expenses for the month of $194,287.19. Then we move on to the cash position. Okay, the cash position shows that we had total income of $208,689.03. Total disbursements were $345,064.62. The total cash available at the end of the month was $1,408,184.99. The OPEB account unfortunately had a loss this month of a loss of $18,371.22, bringing us to an ending balance in the OPEB account of $732,266.80.
Brenda, could you hold for 1 second? Frank Stafford is
Sure.
calling in. Hello.
Sure.
Hi, Frank. Okay, let me just Paul or Charlie, just for qualification. Frank Staffier is on the line. He can hear, but oops, all right, he just hung up. He can hear, but he cannot, we can't hear him speak because he's on the phone. Is that correct?
No, you can
Oh, he's got to
click
do
on the
star
attendee,
6.
on attendee and say allow to talk.
Okay. Paul, could you help me with that, please? My apologies to everybody.
Hello.
Oh, good. Frank, you are in.
We got
Thank
you.
you. Okay.
Frank,
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I just,
Nope, I'm glad you called. Thank you. Okay, so Brenda, I'm sorry. So the
That's okay.
OPEB, there's a loss of 18,000.
Yes, and now we're moving on to the budget resources report. Okay, the budget resources report, the total receipts for the month were $208,689.03. This brings the total cumulative receipts for this fiscal year to $937,933.65. And then we're moving on to the AAA report. There we go. Okay. The pass-through funds in the top graph shows a total cumulative billings as of this report to be $1,197,540.94. The allocated volunteer transportation funds account had very little activity for the month, but the balance at the end of the month in that fund was $189,782. On the bottom graph, the ombudsman and admin funds show a cumulative total billings of $205,455.50. Moving on to the ROM statement and activity.
Is that what you know? Is that?
Yeah,
sorry.
that's the statement. If I'm looking
Okay, hang on.
for the graph.
Up here, sorry.
That's okay. No worries. Okay, here we go. Okay, the balance at the beginning of September was $190,014.65. September expenses were $3,820.09. September receipts were $5,850. The total FY21 expenses to date are $26,815.07. The total FY21 income to date was $17,550, bringing the ending balance in September to $179,795.12. And that's it for the regular financials. You want me to move on to the fiscal report, Mary?
I do.
Okay. All right. Fiscal report for this month, the FY20, I'm sorry, yes, the FY20 audit progress report. The audit continues to move along nicely. Attached here to this document are just samples of all of the audit field work that has passed back and forth. He asks for a tremendous amount of items. We're not going to go through these things line by line or page by page. This is really just here for everyone to see the information that is being sent and being used by the auditor. Other fiscal related items. Prior meeting report updates on IRS pending items. The IRS response to the late filing fee inquiry. We still have not heard anything further at this time. We're continuing to check in on that. The 2019 taxes have now been posted online, so that's good. It has been requested by the auditor that the board formally, that OCPC with a vote by the board formally adopt a depreciation capitalization policy. ROM shows $595,862 in building improvements, depreciating at $18,615. Geyer Hurley's notes on past audits state that they were depreciating building improvements at 30 years. Even the calculation comes to 32 due to some other improvements getting tacked on, which extended the depreciation period. Equipment was depreciated from 3 to 5 years, which is not really an issue because all of the equipment is currently fully depreciated. Based on this past history, the auditor recommends that we adopt the following policy. Simply stated, example for OCPC capitalization and depreciation policy shown. I'm sorry. It's so tiny. It's so tiny. It's so tiny on the screen. No, it was
here.
it was
I've got this one instead.
theirs. Oh, okay. You've got the long version.
Yeah.
So he suggests that we capitalize, that the policy that he suggests we adopt is that all equipment will be capitalized that has a useful life greater than 1 year and cost greater than $5,000. That buildings and building improvements will be depreciated based on a useful life of 30 years, and that equipment and depreciate equipment based on a useful life of 3 to 5 years, depending on the type of equipment. So this is what he suggests be the formal policy for depreciation and capitalization, but we need to get a vote from the board in order to make that concrete. And this will be this will be what's used for this audit and all audits moving forward, unless we choose to change that. It's a pretty standard policy, actually.
It is a standard policy, but it's something that has not been included in the past. And again, some
No,
of
it
the
has
things
not,
that
yeah.
we've been doing with the new audit and with Mark has been really digging deeper into being consistent. So it was brought before the Finance Committee. Staff recommends, the Finance Committee recommends to the full board.
So do you need a motion now to accept the capitalization depreciation policy?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I would make that motion that we accept as recommended by Markham.
Second. Eldon, West Bridgewater.
All right, before we take a vote, any questions or concerns about the capitalization and depreciation policy before we vote on it?
So was that a question for me?
No, I just said, yeah, if anybody has any questions or concerns about adopting this policy, if you could say something, let us
Okay.
know what your question or concerns are before we vote on this. I would appreciate it. All right, hearing none. So it looks like no one has any questions or concerns about this. We've got a motion and a second. Mary, can we do a roll call vote on acceptance of the policy?
Abington,
Accept.
Avon,
Accept.
Bridgewater, not here. Brockton,
Accept.
Easton,
Accept.
Halifax, Hanson,
Accept.
Pembroke,
Accept.
Plymouth,
Accept.
Plimpton,
Accept.
Stoughton,
Accept.
West Bridgewater,
Accept.
Whitman.
Accept.
And Madam Chair, Madam President, so then it's, we go back to the finance, and I think that there may be, if there were any questions of the general finance presented by Brenda.
Sure, absolutely. Any questions on the financial reports presented by Brenda?
I think
right.
the only thing was the large amount of loss on the OPED account. I think that was a little surprising.
Well, the
yeah,
market's trending downwards at the moment. To
Correct.
sell
I
off.
say, it's the time.
Drop
why.
Yeah,
over
yeah.
points on us today.
Right. So then a motion is needed to accept the finance report if there aren't any other questions.
Okay, Mary, one question. Did we ever get an answer about the late fee, whether or not Markham, in the event it's not waived, will they be picking up the fee?
We have not received anything. Brenda asked on a weekly basis of Russell
Okay.
from Markham. He has not received any answers. Is that right, Brenda?
That's correct. That's correct. It's still just very much pending.
But it's a
Okay.
weekly ask that we
Okay.
do ask.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
All
Well,
right,
it would be our luck that the week that we don't ask, something happens, right? So it's just so
True.
it doesn't fall through the cracks.
Perfect. Okay, very good. All right, so do we have a motion to accept the financial reports from September 30th as presented?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Frank. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Bob. Okay, Mary, could we do a roll call vote?
Abington,
Accept.
Avon,
Accept.
Brockton,
Accept.
Easton,
Accept.
Hanson,
Accept.
Pembroke,
Accept.
Plymouth,
Accept.
Plimpton,
Accept.
Stoughton,
Accept.
West Bridgewater,
Accept.
and Whitman.
Accept.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mary, for doing that. Okay, on to staff reports. You're busy tonight.
Yeah, I know. Let me get my stuff.
Change hats.
You're right. Here we go. I am going to.
Excuse me. There were actually, there were a couple more things on the fiscal report. I'm sorry
Oops.
that I didn't get to. We went into the capitalization vote, and I had two other quick
Oh.
things. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Sorry, I thought we were there. Go ahead, Brenda.
That's okay. The first thing is that we don't have an official list of past improvements that have been done. So I'm going to be compiling a list of past improvements and updating that list as projects are added in order to track ROM's investments and with the time frame that it's documented, so that we have a documented time frame. So I'm going to be putting together that list, and in a future meeting, I will present that forward so that everyone can actually see those items listed.
We will do that through the finance committee to make a report from there to the full
Yep.
board. Because I think what we were also looking to do when we did our budget for this year, it was the first time we really had started to begin a capital budget for all the improvements.
Yep, okay. And lastly, Rockland Trust property loan renewal. The loan was due to expire on October 29th. Due to COVID-19 interruptions, the documents related to this were not ready. Ergo, the term for renewal will be extended by 6 months, at which time the decision will need to be made to pay off or renew the loan. That will be approximately the end of April. Until that time, the monthly payments will continue as normal. I did inquire, based on all that Mary and I talked about, the interest rates, since they were sort of holding us up. But right now we're paying an interest rate of, I believe, 2.72%. The current interest rate is at 3.5, I believe. And even with that said, they are not able to get the documents together because they need financial reports from me before they can put anything together. It's just like it's like getting a whole new loan to renew it. So they need quite a few documents, which I only found this out yesterday, the day before. So I haven't been able to get that to them yet, but I will get it to them soon. And as soon as they do get those documents, it takes weeks to put together. You know, it has to go through the underwriters. So in any event, it's extended out by 6 months. So we will be revisiting that in 6 months. And that's all. That's the end of the fiscal report. Any
Brenda,
questions?
this is Bob. Yeah,
Hi, Bob.
the interest rate the interest rate going up to 3.5%. That seems a little curious at this time. I mean, the interest rates mortgages are much lower than that.
Mhm.
I mean, if we can look to another institution, I would be fine with that. I mean, we're not necessarily tied to Rockland Trust for the mortgage, right?
I think that's correct.
No, we're sure not. And that's an excellent point. And I will do just that. I will reach out and see what's being offered out there. That's actually an excellent point. Yeah, it's up that, and it was
Okay.
3.5, it was 3.5 fixed for a 5-year. This was as of yesterday, I think, Mary. I think that's
Yep.
when he messaged us. So,
We did.
you know,
And-
but unfortunately, the interest rates seem to be going up and up and up. So, you know,
So
we're,
one of the things that we probably should have done, which it was not on my radar either, but the fact that we should have been keeping an eye on when this loan was coming due, so we could have at least, I mean, they agreed that it slipped through their cracks, but at the same time, you know, we should be keeping an eye on a calendar of items that when these loans are due. So then, you know, if they come back to us, they want to give us an extension, well, that's great, but we
Yeah.
really could have probably have done something about that. But
well, I actually did though. I was in touch with, you know, I mean,
Oh,
I
okay.
I've contacted them a couple of times and was told the documents would be showing up at any time. Then
Gotcha.
just
Yeah.
to find out last week that the person that I had spoken to was completely wrong about that. It had to be handled by a complete other person who was working remotely, a loan manager of sorts. And he was very apologetic. He said that it was not, it completely was missed by him. He didn't know about it. So it was an error all the way around, but it wasn't because we weren't reaching
Gotcha.
out.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for that clarification. I
No problem,
apologize. I didn't mean to.
no
But,
problem.
But one other thing that I would like us to be on the record about is that in terms of Markham, we want to make sure that it's not only about where that penalty is on you know, the IRS, but we want to make sure that they're going to agree that they're going to pay for it. So it's really twofold, not only about when it's happening, and I know they're going to fight it, but where we should not be responsible for paying that penalty.
Absolutely not.
So just so it's on
Yes.
the record.
So,
Yeah, and the other comment I would have about that one too is if we don't hear back from Markham or really from the IRS, you know, at what point does it make sense to engage Congressman Lynch's office, Senators Warren or Markey or whatever as a, you know, we're an agency, but we're also a constituency. And that's one of the things that all those Congress folks list on their websites is constituent services, help with a federal agency, help with IRS. I mean, maybe at some point we need to pull that trigger too.
yeah, not a bad idea.
We utilized the congressman's office for when we needed the 501c3 affirmation letter. So so yes, it's in the back of my mind. At some point, we'll probably need to pull a deadline as to how long we're going to allow.
Wait.
Yeah, right. Because then at that point, it may be doubled in terms of penalty, and we certainly don't want to be stuck with it. So Brenda, what I'll do is with you, we can maybe draft at least a formal response from the council on behalf of the council, just to reassure that we really need to kind of have this be expedited in terms of attention from Markham.
Okay, we'll do.
So that is
Thank
all
you,
for the
Brenda.
finance.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
sorry. I'm sorry. My
Thank
computer
you,
keeps
Brenda.
going in and out, so I keep missing the ends and the beginnings of sentences. So,
All right, thank you so much for that very thorough report. So on to staff reports, Mary.
So I have, so this was not sent to you in advance, and my apologies. It was still a couple late comings in terms of putting it together. But I'm going to breeze through this only because there's some other items that I'd like you to do, and I will email this to everyone so you'll have a copy of it. Certainly the as I do. So the first and foremost, what I did with staff on October 14th was that we had an office retreat, and it was socially distant. It was held here at the Old Colony Planning offices, and then at the later part, they came to my backyard and we did some fun and social things. And I think my first aha was the fact that I was doing this on my own, and I can't be doing retreats on my own and still maintain all the work that I'm doing. So that was my first aha. But the second part was that a number of staff have never participated in a retreat. And and you have a number of them that are on the call tonight, but I thought it was an engaging and wonderful experience for everyone, myself included. We had a professional photographer come in to do headshots of the staff. We did a session on refining their bios. We did some fun, engaging networking and scavenger hunts, and we also talked about strategic planning. We talked about a mission statement. We talked about a whole host of things that I really to tighten up our staff. In a COVID related and working remotely, it's one of those things that we kind of took for granted. So while I didn't get into details in terms of the report, but I thought it was engaging and it was wonderful. And we want to take, we're going to be doing a summary, then we'll be presenting that. We'll send that to the council members. And I really, at some point, would like to do something of some sort with the council members in a very social distancing format. Because I think, right, we've been able to see each other on Zoom, but not see each other in person. And there's been some new members, and how do we start all over? So with that said, I really appreciated the staff. We had 100% participation. I think we had 100% participation in all the fun stuff as well as everything. And I'll be looking forward to sending you that update when we do that. Christine was able to give us a welcome, and it was very endearing and wonderful, and it set the stage for us. And we ended the day with Bob Moran sending some messages and welcome messages at the end. So thank you both. The AAA, in terms of David and Lila and Jane and all the work that they're doing, as David was saying, goes into high gear. And Lila and talked about the retreat, but the reapplication for 2-year cycle of programming initially pulled for the fall. They continue. I'm going to go right to the picture because I think the picture that is here with OCPC, the AAA staff participated with the RMV and Old Colony Elder Services, and they're doing a lot of outreach in different ways to the community. I thought it was a really unique way to partner with Old Colony Elder Services, as well as a unique way of getting a word out there. So again, I'm not going to go into great detail, but as I will send the Word document, because as David has here, is that there's a survey that DPH is doing, and would like to share that with your constituencies. The community planning and economic development for Lori Muncie and Joanne Zigman in terms of hazard mitigation plans and housing production plans and the open space plans and age-friendly plans. It's amazing the work that the staff is doing and continues to do. I was missing some information about the SEDS, but I'm going to jump to Dottie Fuginetti and the economic recovery. Working with Stoughton and West Bridgewater in terms of getting articles in the New England Real Estate Journal. I thought that was a great partnership with the Metro South Chamber and our communities to really promote all the things that are going on out there. Dottie continues to plug away in terms of the resiliencies and working with Stoughton on a sewer project and EDA funding. And I believe, Lee, that there's going to be some conversation with the town of Plymouth on an infrastructure that seems to have been a whole year that we've been working on it, but until it happens, it's, but thank you for everybody. And then there was an on-site visit with Deb Petty and the town of Hanson and continue. There's a whole host of, again, some links, some small business grants. For those that are getting the newsletter, all of this stuff is in there. We try to make sure that it's really present. And again, I'll be sharing this with you. Transportation department, we needed like 5 different pages for what's going on with transportation, but the complete staff completed Chapel Street transportation for Pembroke. The Main Street corridor study has been completed. There's been some work on Scotland Street for West Bridgewater. Eldon, you have a copy of that in front of you. The staff's work on the 139 corridor study has been amazing. I'm going to show a flyer and we'll be getting that sent out, but there'll be understanding disparate impact and MPO activity decision-making. There's a November 5th. I'll show you the flyer and I'll make sure you get all of that so you can share with your network. And then, gosh, I'm going to highlight here some active transportation studies. The staff continue to do, provide study of analysis of bicycle, pedestrian transit, the climate change transportation vulnerability assessment. Ray Garino's been working on that, and that's been a nice combination of having members of the planning and economic development team participate in that. The road safety audits continue. Again, a numerous amount of activities and work, and I know that Charlie recently had weighed in with the town of Duxbury, and again, this doesn't show half of the information that they've been doing, but GIS work continues and mapping out the COVID-19, as well as some of the census, and still developing how we can utilize GIS in a much more active way. Then the septic program. So I will send this all to you. There's a couple other things that I'll be sending to you. There's some fall training workshops. One tonight that we're obviously missing, but there's a whole bunch about drafting zoning amendments, creating master plans. So I'll send this out to you, and I hope that you're able to share that with your constituencies. I've been, I thought this was, I've been participating in the nuclear decommissioning citizen advisory panel. It was an interesting meeting. I would know I was quoted in the meeting recently because we can never make any motions because of the number of people who are from state agencies who can't vote. So it's always like a deadlock, like there's just never movement. So we've been involved in trying to make some changes to that so we can move it forward. Then there was some, this is the piece that I wanted to, that David had alluded to, that on October 19th, the Office of the State Long-Term Care Ombudsman has approved and us for, I'm just trying to say, request designation as a local ombudsman program. So to Lila and to David and the team, they do amazing work that has been really been terrific. So I thought that would be helpful. And there's DLTA been working with MARPA on support of some legislation, and I'll get a little bit into that, into some others. So that is the staff report.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you everybody for your hard work again during the month. It's amazing the amount of work you get done. All right, so on to regional clearinghouse reviews.
Yes. So we'll bypass the industrial because there are none, but the environmental notification. So at the end of your agenda that I sent out, there are two, Duxbury, Marshfield Beach, and Dune Nourishment. And they've received the application. And again, as Lee mentioned at the last council meeting, these are for information. And if you would like to comment, or if you'd like OCPC to comment, we certainly have that capability and ability to do so. I know that there's an upcoming, I want to say November 5th or November 12th, the Stoughton Lawler Lane. The proposed project consists of construction of a cul-de-sac roadway infrastructure. I do have a copy of the whole EEA report. This is a condensed version, but this is something that we'll be looking to potentially to comment on to support the work that's being done in terms of an economic development project and supporting the work that is being done by the town of Stoughton. So those are the two for your information. And both the town of Duxbury and Stoughton are aware of these environmental notifications. So that's all that I have.
All right, thank you, Mary. All right, how about a status on the retirement legislation?
So on this, let me try to get this one, sorry. So there is proposed legislation that is before the council, and it is this, there is legislation that's, we're looking to find a legislator to sponsor this, not necessarily from the Old Colony Planning Region, but this all has to go with inclusive, and this is recommendation from the MARPA, MAPC has Leah Robbins and working with the lobbyist, and this section in terms of this language should be addressing it not on an annual basis, but forever. I needed to put together with this a section. It still isn't a draft form. They're going to look to file the legislation beginning of the year, but I wanted to just at least show you that there is movement from MARPA to file this legislation that should fix the issue of us having to always get that that bill, if you will, from the State Retirement Board. So that's one piece. And then there was a letter back in May that MARPA did send, and I will send this to everybody, that went out regarding the H-48 and how we as 13 RPAs came together to really talk about what we do and how it can impact the fact that if we have to continually go back and pay $2 million. So I will share this letter with you. Bob Moran and I chatted about doing that separate session as we talked about the last council meeting. We weren't there yet. We had a couple bumps in the road on my side of things. So we will still get that together, and there's still time. But I think once you kind of take a look at this and put together a PowerPoint presentation that can be shared in advance, and perhaps we hold a special just information session for council members, and instead of taking up maybe a whole council meeting, that we can do something in advance as an informative, and then go forward with any kind of special vote that may be taken. So that's the status on the retirement. And then and now into the new business. So now we're going to do something fun. Not that this hasn't been fun for anybody, but because we're doing a webinar, we're gonna be needing a vote. And I'm actually going to turn this over to Charlie to give an overview, but we're going to be needing a vote tonight on this, and we're going to be doing it by way of you polling. We're going to poll you, and you can register your vote that way. So Charlie?
Great, thank you, Mary. So every October, there's something fun that comes up, and it's not trick or treating. I mean, obviously that's one thing that does happen every October, but every October there's an election that takes place to elect a local signatory to the Old Colony MPO. The Old Colony MPO itself has 8 members. 2 of them are MassDOT, 1 is Old Colony Planning Council, another one is Brockton Area Transit. And then we have the permanent community of the city of Brockton and the permanent community of Plimpton. And then the other 2 signatories are stratified by population. Plymouth, yep.
Not Plimpton. Plymouth, right.
Yep.
I wish.
So we have 2 locally elected seats, one under 14,000 population, the other above 14,000. And then every year we conduct an election for one or the other. This year, the under 14,000 seat is up. And what we do in September is send out copious amounts of documentation to the eligible communities. In this case, it's 8 communities. They are Avon, East Bridgewater, Halifax, Hanover, Hanson, Kingston, Plimpton, and West Bridgewater. And on your screen here, Mary's scrolling down, we have a response from 2 communities that are interested in serving on the MPO. So this is before the council today to conduct the election of and select one of these 2 people. It would either be Kimberly Emberg from the Kingston Board of Selectmen or Meredith Anderson from the West Bridgewater Board of Selectmen. And this is to serve a 2-year term commencing November 1st, 2020.
A question, please.
Yep.
So Charlie, Do you recall if either of these communities were ever serving on the MPO before?
West Bridgewater has, Kingston has not.
Okay.
Charlie, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, one of the most important things is their ability to be at our MPO meetings. That's one thing that I'm very strong on. And I know that West Bridgewater is a lot closer to Brockton than Kingston is, but have you spoken to either candidate and your opinion of whether or not they can make our MPO meetings where they're at 10 o'clock in the morning?
I have not spoken to either one, but it's the understanding of both communities that if the elected signatory is unable to attend, they may appoint someone to attend on their behalf, such as during the day, whether it be a town planner or somebody directly responsible to the community. And plus, actually, in the virtual world, it's actually easier for them to attend where
Right.
they can just log on or phone in.
I know that's now, but I mean, when we
Yep.
actually have to go to Brockton to the, Oklahoma Planning Council's office.
Mhm.
Okay, I just think it's very important to be in attendance, to understand what you're doing and what's involved. Okay, thank you.
Charlie, could you just give us a Reader's Digest version of what the MPO does?
Well, so the Old Colony MPO itself is the entity that's charged with prioritizing federal transportation spending within the region and also developing the Unified Planning Work Program that you saw a presentation on back in, I believe, June. And that's actually the work of the Transportation Department. So the Transportation Department is technically the staff of the MPO itself to do the MPO's work, whereas in some parts of the country, the MPO is a freestanding entity as opposed to the Regional Planning Council. So when you see something such as the Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP, that is an MPO document where it's the 8 signatories that are endorsing that document and not just the Old Colony Planning Council by itself.
Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate the explanation. Okay, Mary, so how do we do the voting here?
It's over to Paul. There we go. Can everybody see that on your screen? I think the only people who
Yeah.
may not be able to see it are those that are on the phone. What I would recommend, so those that can see this are able to vote directly. Eldon has a paper ballot in front of him, and Frank Staffier, if you would like, I don't think, are you able to see the screen, Frank?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so if you would
Let
like
me
to.
ask a question.
Sure.
Again, just who are the candidates that we're voting on here?
So there are 2. One is Kimberly Emberg of the Kingston Board of, that's from the Board of Selectmen. That's their recommendation. And then Meredith Anderson, West Bridgewater Board of Selectmen. Charlie,
Okay,
they're both
that's
Boards of
fine.
Selectmen, correct?
That's
That's
correct.
fine.
This signatory has to be a chief elected official.
Thank you. And Frank, if you would like to call me and tell me, rather than, we can do it that way, whichever way.
Can I ask a question?
would-
This is, oh, sorry.
I have no question about the capability of the people who you're electing. So I mean, if you want me to call you privately, I will be glad to do that, but I'd be glad to cast my vote for both of them.
Okay, thank you.
But it's not for both, it's for one.
Well, then I'll wait. And who is that asking the questions anyways? Dan Salucci?
That was Lee Hartman.
Lee Hartman, yeah.
Okay, fine. See, I can't see the names.
So Frank, what I'll do.
I will abstain.
Okay, or Frank, what I can do is after this, as people are voting, I can secure your particular vote, just so it's on the record.
Okay. Thank
Mary,
you.
I think Becky may have had a question.
Yes, Becky?
I did. Thank you, Christine. My question is whether or not we have any information on whether either one of these candidates have any experience in planning or in any of the work that would be done by the MPO.
Oh, we do not have that information.
And it really isn't, even though as what Dan was saying, it would be helpful to have a person have that information. It's not a written requirement for them
No,
to do that.
right.
It's a chief elected
Right,
official. And if that chief elected official so designates to have someone from DPW or from planning, they're able to do that.
I will say,
Right, I'm just trying to understand if we're choosing between two people to work on this. Is it that we're choosing one community over the other, or are we choosing one candidate over the other in terms of someone who's going to provide leadership and input on that particular planning organization? Like, I don't know how to choose between someone from Kingston and someone from West Bridgewater without knowing something about their backgrounds, unless we're choosing just based on which community we think should have a voice at the table.
if I could, Lee Hartman, as a member of this group, and I've been now for a long time, when I first came on, I had no experience. I'm a planner, I'm a planner by trade, but the language and the things they do in MPO is totally different. So I'm going to bet unless you're a transportation planner, there are very few people who can jump into this and not take a little bit of a learning curve. And then I would say the second part is, in my opinion, it's really about the community, not necessarily the person. The chair of the Board of Selectmen is our designee for the town of Plymouth, and I think it's been 15 years I've served, and they have never showed up. It's always me as their alternate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Has everyone voted that we'll be voting?
Want me to vote now?
Yes, please.
I already voted for one. Want to vote again?
One.
Did you get my vote?
Yes.
Okay, because when I voted and sent it, then it came back, said, please vote again. And we don't do that. I'm a Republican.
Work out the bugs before next week, right?
Maybe that's gonna show us how many votes each one got when you finally get it done.
And again, I have Whitman, I have West Bridgewater's hard copy here in the office because Eldon's here, and Frank will be weighing his in separately. So that's 2. We have 12 people, and I'm looking at 1, 2, 3. Apologize.
10 people have
4,
voted.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 10, 12, oh, 13. I must have double counted.
Well, no, you may have some alternates. I was going to raise that, but I didn't want to
Me too.
complicate it. But we could have an alternate who's voting as well as a delegate.
Oh, yeah.
If there is anybody who is an alternate, so that would be the only, and I don't mean to, there's, I think only one, there's one person who's alternate and a delegate are on this, so. Okay. And Paul, can you see from your end, Paul?
I can see how many votes we have cast. I can't see who voted.
That's okay. All right.
Well, you want to take a roll call vote of the delegates and see if they voted already? That way we know.
I can do that. I can do that right now, and that way we can be just to confirm.
Right.
Abington, did you vote?
I did, yes.
Okay, thank you. Frank, I know that you are on the phone and you have not officially in the poll, but we will get you. Brockton?
I did vote, yeah.
Okay. Easton?
Voted.
Thank you. Hanson?
Yes, I voted.
Thank you. Pembroke?
I voted.
Plymouth?
Yes.
Plimpton? Christine? I'm gonna move Stoughton,
Yep, I voted.
West Bridgewater,
I voted.
and Whitman.
I voted.
Okay, great. So I think we can close the poll, Paul.
Mary, I don't hear you.
Did you hear, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes,
Okay. And I just to confirm that you did vote, Christine.
I did vote, correct.
Perfect.
Right,
Okay.
8-2, right, yeah, okay.
So, so this is, and I only, because I know that I had peeked at Eldon's ballot before the meeting, so I know that he had supported the West Bridgewater selectmen. So at this point, the West Bridgewater selectmen, I think this is the conclusion of the vote.
Yeah.
It's not the best way, it's not the way it used to be, but then again, we're not in the usual time. So thank you, Paul. I think we can stop sharing the results and capture this, right?
Yep.
Thank you. How do we share the results?
You
They
did.
should-
They should,
Mhm.
I just shared them visually,
Okay,
but there should be a recording of them also.
yes, correct. Thank you. All right, thank you. So we are finished with that. Thank you both to Paul and to Charlie for coming up with, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. For coming up with a unique way of being able to deal with how to get this done. So that's the MPO voting. Thank you very much. And we are next on the agenda is the drone presentation. So I will pull that up and I'm going to have Charlie do the introduction on this and then to introduce Kyle Mowat.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Mary. So up on your screen is a really nice presentation assembled by Kyle Mowat, Sean Bailey, and Indra Vidal of OCPC. And one of the things that they had had their eye on for some time is evolving data collection techniques. And they've identified an opportunity for unmanned aircraft systems, better known as by the slang term of drones. Some of the other regional planning agencies have acquired drone technology. Southeastern Mass Regional Planning and Economic Development has a drone, and the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission has a drone as well. And they've used this emerging technology for different types of photography, data collection, elevation mapping, and the like. And we believe it's one of the service areas that Old Colony Planning Council can extend its reach of its technical assistance work, just like we do with the traffic count program, the turning movement program. So Kyle Mowat, who runs our data collection program, is here tonight with us, and he's going to provide this presentation. Do note that this was provided to the Audit and Finance Committee last week. So I yield the floor to Kyle Mowat.
All right. Thank you, Charlie. So yeah, our unmanned aircraft systems, we have a fact sheet here for the Old Colony Planning Council. So yeah, as Charlie said, the unmanned aircraft systems, also known as drones. So the OCPC mission, so staff at the Old Colony Planning Council will be pursuing the Part 107, which is a commercial remote pilot certificate. And that would be myself, Sean Bailey, and Andrew Vidal will be going for that Part 107 certificate. And we'll work closely with stakeholders to maximize benefits from the use of drones in their community. And this will be provided as a public service, which will be a new dynamic and panoramic, if you will, perspective to projects and studies in our communities. And just some examples of drone uses that we can use this for is intersection photography, before and after project analysis. We can capture phases of construction projects, 4K roadway corridor videos, congestion management analysis, hazard mitigation, open space photography, infrastructure inspection, as far as bridges, signage, light poles, and pavement. And then we can use it for public education and outreach. So here's just an example of some intersection photography that we can capture for before, mid-construction, and complete. You can see on the top left is the before construction, bottom left, mid, and then top right, you can see completed photography from that project. So it gives a good overview of the project going on in multiple stages. Here's an example. We can use it for our congestion management process. So 2 times out of the year, we're counting MBTA lots and park and ride lots. So this is just an example. We can fly the drone over parking lots, capture images, and then we can take that back to the office and actually count it at the office versus counting the cars in the field. This is an example of hazard mitigation. You can see flooding and erosion on the left. You can get an image of before, which is on the bottom there, and then on the top it shows erosion from the flooding on that walkway. And then the 3D flood map on the right, you can fly a drone and get a 3D image of an area, and then you can overlay with the 100-year floodplain, and you can see that it shows where the water would be for that 100-year floodplain. And here's an example of pavement management imagery. With the camera system on drones, it gets very detailed, so it'd be very easy to see cracking, pavement patching, as you can see here. So it'd definitely be a good asset for that, for pavement management. So some considerations when we were looking at drones. First off is the camera system. Is it 4K or is it just 1080p? Most of them nowadays are 4K imagery, which is good. Second is battery life, which correlates with flight time, which most of them are around half-hour flight time. But you can get extra batteries, so if you run out of batteries, you can land it and then fly it right back up. Second or third is a GPS navigation. So you can download drone software. You can actually program the drone to fly a certain path, which would be useful for the congestion management for parking lots. You can program it to fly over a parking lot, and then you just hit go, and then it flies up, and you don't have to control it all, and then it'll come back down. So fourth is safety features. All drones, they have some sort of safety feature. Obstacle sensing is a big one. Some have 5-directional, others are forward, backward, downward, and the lower models are usually just upward and downward. So weather factor, depending on the drone, wind is a factor. So certain drones can fly in like 10-mile-per-hour winds or up to like 30, 40-mile-per-hour winds, depending on the drone. And then finally, cost, and that can range from, you can get a drone for $100, or they go all the way up to $20,000. So it's a wide range, but for our purposes, we'd probably be on the lower range of that. So you can see on the top left here, talking about total expenditures for acquiring a drone. The company DJI, they're the most well-known drone company. And then there's Parrot, Phantom 4 Pro, Mavic 2 Pro, the Mavic 2 Zoom. Those are the most, they have the most features that would be necessary for us to do our work for OCPC. And that ranges, they're all around, those three are around like upwards of $2,000. And there's multiple insurance options. You can see there's Verifly, Skywatch, But until we decide on a drone, that's when we can actually get the cost for that. And then the bottom, we have the training and overall costs. So myself, Sean Bailey, and Andrew Vidal will be participating in the test prep and training course with the Drone Pilot Ground School. That's $299 a piece. And then once we complete that, we can sign up for the Bridgewater State University, the FAA exam that they have there. That's $160. And we had multiple Zoom calls with Larry Harmon from Bridgewater State University, and he suggested, he runs their drone program there. He suggested getting a practice drone, which is the Rise Tech Tello, and that's about $150, just to get an idea of like, get used to flying it in the air, something that's cheap. So total cost for training is around $1,500. And then maximum startup, if we went with one of the 3 top tier ones, it's about $3,500. And then the grand total, $3,500 plus insurance when we get that number after we decide what drone we're gonna go with. So yeah, that's our drone program in a nutshell. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So just to clarify, so this did go through the Finance Committee and recommended to move forward. There are some communities, I believe it's Easton that has their own, no, there's a couple communities that have their drone, right, thank you.
Yeah, Easton does have one.
But it was one of the things that I noting and looking and comparing what other, like Serpent has a drone and a few other RPAs have that, and found it to be and particularly in this state of COVID, to offer opportunities to again have a service to our communities.
Yeah, and this is Bob. The comment I would offer is that for 1/20th or 1/30th of the cost of an employee, this has the potential to take
I think you just
all of our imagery and data. Is it's a whole nother level. I don't know, did I cut out there?
You did.
You cut out a little bit, yeah.
Sorry, just short story. It's a good idea. It's cheap money for a dramatic improvement in the imagery of what we do.
Yeah, and I think
it also gives staff a good development. I think this is good for staff to have something to learn and develop and get very good at. Just my comment.
Yeah, and I think drones, they're just getting started. So I think a lot of places will eventually have a drone. So it's good to get jump start on it.
Kyle, it's Christine. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What's the typical lifespan of a drone?
Typical lifespan. I am not positive on that. So I know you can get like replacement rotors. So if that breaks, you can replace those. I'm not positive on the life of the actual drone. I'd have to look into that.
I was just curious. I mean, I'm sure if you crashed it, that would
Yeah.
impact the life expectancy, but I just didn't know if, typically they would last a couple of years, if not longer.
Yeah,
Well,
I would assume at least a couple of years.
Yeah, they usually last a couple of years, but then they just get outdated like a laptop.
Yeah.
The technology changes. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I just Googled lifespan of a drone, but unfortunately it brought up the drone. So that was only like 5 weeks. So that's the wrong kind of drone. But I have worked with Larry Harmon from Bridgewater State quite a bit. And it is, the technology is a few years, very much like a laptop. So.
Do you need us to take a vote to proceed with this, or is this just kind of an FYI, Mary?
I would like us to proceed with a vote to support, and obviously what we will do is provide an update with all the to be determined. This is to really to approve pretty much the program and to get the staff going on the coursework. And we will have that as part of the update of staff report of where we are with this.
Right. All right. Any questions for Kyle or Charlie or Mary before we take a vote on going forward with the drone?
So this is Preston. Just have a quick question. How many drones would you propose to maintain? Just one or several?
I think to start out, we'd probably just be getting one.
Yes.
Yeah, 1 plus the practice one.
Yeah. Yeah, so 2.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. So hearing no questions, do we have a motion to authorize OCPC Mary to proceed with the drone program?
Lee Hartman, I move it.
Okay.
Dan Salvucci, I will second that.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. Mary, could you do a roll call vote?
Abington.
Accept, approve.
Thank you. Avon.
Accept.
Brockton.
Accept.
Easton. Hanson.
Accept.
Pembroke.
Accept.
Plymouth.
Accept.
Plimpton.
Accept.
Stoughton.
Accept.
West Bridgewater.
Accept.
And Whitman.
Accept.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kyle, for your presentation.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. It's exciting stuff.
I was gonna say, it is exciting. I'm excited for you.
So
All right.
next on the agenda is a AAA program. There is a memo that I did send out previously. I asked David David, are you still on? Oops, mute yourself, I think. Sorry if I could.
Yep, I'm still here, Mary.
Perfect. All right, thank you. And this is pretty self-explanatory, but in a nutshell, and if you can tweak it a little bit, David, but it's there are the communities, 4 communities, Abington, Duxbury, Rockland, and West Bridgewater, that are standalone nutrition programs. And what David is proposing is to have Old Colony Elder Services take this on in terms of working with these communities. My first question out of the box really is that, was there going to be any kind of financial impact? And the answer is no, but because it is a change of how AAA had been functioning, that I felt it necessary to not only share this memo, but to request a vote. David, did you want to add anything just quickly in terms of summarizing?
Nothing unless people have questions, Mary. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So I am looking for a vote. I am looking for a vote to accept this change. Again, it has no financial impact, but it's some communities that I just want to make sure that we are updating the council.
I would move that we accept those changes.
All right, so Becky made a motion. Do we have a second?
Abington accepts.
Okay, Abington made the second. Okay, so we had a motion and a second to authorize this move in the AAA nutrition program. So any discussion before we take a vote? Okay, hearing none. Mary, can you do a roll call vote?
Abington.
Accept.
Avon.
Accept.
Brockton.
Accept.
Easton.
Accept.
Hanson.
Accept. Did you hear me?
I did. Thank you, Deb. Sorry. Pembroke.
Accept.
Plymouth.
Accept.
Plimpton.
Accept.
Stoughton.
Accept.
West Bridgewater.
Accept.
And Whitman.
Accept.
Thank you. thank you, David, for combining that. And I think the last new business really is just to affirm that the next council meeting is the day before Thanksgiving, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And it is suggested that we have a combined, as it's been for the last several years, but have a November/December council meeting on December 2nd, Wednesday, December 2nd.
Okay.
So I think it's just not necessarily a vote is needed. I just wanted to make sure that date and we'll notify council members in advance, particularly the new council members, that this is a change.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mary. All right, any community concerns?
No, we just had an election for the MPO there. When are you gonna announce the winner there?
What? Oh,
The winner, the person
West Bridgewater.
who, yes, the person
West
who
Bridgewater
received
is the winner.
most vote was the West Bridgewater select woman.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
All right. On to other business.
yeah, I'd like to make a comment if I may.
Sure.
As a member of the MPO, and I would like to thank Eldon, him and I have been sitting next to each other for the last 10, 12 years, I think, for a long time. And I just want to thank Eldon for all his time that we, working on the MPO. You're going to be surely missed.
Oh, it sure was very, very challenging. Like I said, when I got on there, I didn't really know too much, but it was very, very
You learn
rewarding.
quick,
Yeah.
right?
Because
Same
you
way.
hook on to everybody all the way down to Plymouth. I mean, it's kind of a responsible position there. But I think what you did said the thing is there. It's a meeting. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's important. The person is going to have a clearance there so they can be there. That's
Right, exactly right.
That's a very important thing. Thank you for the mention.
Absolutely, Ellen.
Thank you, Eldon. You'll be a good source of information for your replacement. So I'm sure she'll be contacting you for some help. All right. So how about other business? I don't know. Did Bob, you want to say anything in other business?
Can I recommend, have Bob say something, but what I'd also like if once we adjourn, if everybody could just stay on, because what we'll be doing is putting together a video, everybody's remarks. So we could either do it part of the meeting or we can do it right after the meeting, but I wanted the staff had an opportunity to do some separate videos and recognizing Bob for his dedication, but however, the chair would like to move forward.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice. Well, how about Bob? What do you want to do, Bob? Would you like to do it now, or would you prefer after the meeting?
I'm kind of a less is more guy on this kind of stuff.
Okay, so you want to do it after the meeting?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, all right. So we'll hold that till after the meeting. Okay, so any visitors, comments, or questions? I don't think we had any visitors. Okay, so if there's no other business, I'll make a motion that we adjourn and just remind everybody that our next meeting will be December 2nd.
And I also, Madam Chair, I've also put the dates of the January, February, March meeting just
Beautiful. For planning purposes. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Mary. All right. So we'll adjourn this meeting. And so Mary, do we stick around here if we want to?
You stay right on here because
watch the
Paul
video.
Chenard, who is on this, one of our staff members, is a expertise in terms of clipping and saving. And so we can adjourn and move into part will be, so yes.
Beautiful. Okay. All right. So I'll make a motion that we adjourn the regular meeting of OCPC.
Right.
Do you need a motion?
Yep. I made a motion. Do we have a second?
Dan Whitman's second.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So